All right, guys, we're gonna get the tail shaft put on. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Looks like I got a little bit of overspray on it. I did go through and bed line this with some just spray bed liner, Herculiner. But I laid on several layers, just mainly try to add some sort of insulation base is kind of what I was going for. But anyways, I'm gonna get that on, get this cleaned up real quick, and then get this tail shaft portion put on, and then maybe throw the transfer case on, but I want to get this pan off and get the filter changed. So gonna get that knocked out, and then we'll go from there, see what else we can get done tonight. Buzz those on and then torque them down. Hey guys, what is up? So I didn't film any of this yesterday because well, for one, I don't have a camera guy or anything, obviously, so it's hard to get up in there, or get the camera up in there rather, in any aspect where you guys can see. But the transfer case got pulled. I got the shifter linkage installed the way it's supposed to. After getting everything placed, it is a little tight right here and it rubs, but I'll have to clean that up, and I'll just clean that up from the inside. But it is all installed and functioning where it is, and it just rubs, but you can go in and out of every gear, no problem. The cross member here is back in. I still need to drill the holes here to put bolts like I want, but like I said before, I'm still going to come with another piece that attaches to all this and bolts up to this, so I'm not gonna focus on that right now. Honestly, I have a trip coming up, and if I don't get that done before that trip, so be it. But I want to, because I want to come up with another brace back here, so I plan on building a mount that comes down and hooks to another bushing like this, and will attach to this cross member that's going to extend out. I'm probably going to get rid of this ridge here, not the entire thing like I did in this section here, but I'm going to get rid of part of it because it's just kind of in the way. So the things left to do down here, I have to pull the fuel pump, replace the fuel pump, and then I'm going to run all new lines. I got rid of the steel lines. I'm actually going to run them along here because of some future plans. But so I got all new lines. I'm going to run those. They are a rubber with steel braiding, and then another layer of rubber, and then nylon bracing. Sorry, I think I showed you that before, but in case I didn't, that's what I'm going to be running. It's pretty much what I'm going to run for everything. So but anyways, fuel lines, starter, transcooler lines, vent lines, and drive lines, and down here we're pretty much done. But I do have a problem. When I ordered the Atlas transfer case, I did not realize this, and it did not specify. I even went back to make sure that it didn't specify, but this has a 3.12 pilot, and my drive lines have a 2-inch pilot. So it's kind of a problem. And so I was talking to my local driveline guy, and he was spitballing some options. Like, for instance, turning this down to a 2-inch pilot, but there's only slightly, I mean, it's only slightly above, so that's not an option, and I don't really want to do that anyways, because it would end up voiding the warranty on the Atlas for sure. But the other option is I can send these back and get this unit replaced with the proper pilot. So I may end up doing that, but there's two things with this. I knew this. So before, my rear drive line was slightly too short. It was okay if I bottomed out, it didn't touch, but it got really close. I only had like 3/8 of an inch of clearance or so. So it got really close, and I didn't like that. But now it's the polar opposite. Even at ride height, there's splines barely showing, so that means when I'm extended, because I had about an inch of slip from extension to bump from ride height before, so assuming that it's the same, that means that there's going to be over an inch of spline showing, like an inch and a half of spline showing at full droop, which I don't want. And then the front drive line is way too long now. It's kind of funny how it works out, actually, but so the rear is only a couple inches too short, and the front is like 5 inches too long. So it's just going to be a matter of the yokes. You can see here on the Rubicon case, I think the Rubicon case is longer for one, but for two, this yoke is quite long. And on the Rubicon case, they're like this. I don't even think they're that deep, including the front one. So, but the weird thing about that is it being so much shorter. But anyways, long story short, I haven't decided what I'm gonna do yet. I could easily send those off. It's $250 per drive line to change it out. My concern is that the rear is slightly too short, and so it's like, should I spend the $250 or should I just spend an additional $250 and get a new drive line made, and then try to sell this one, which probably ain't gonna be able to do, or put it on the shelf and hope I can use it later. If nothing else, it at least would be, if I could get that pilot changed out, it could be a spare. And then on the front drive line, I did not ask them, but I don't know if I can send it back and get the driveline shortened for that $250 as well. It's about $500 just to get a new driveline, so that's what those cost me, is about $500 a piece. So anyways, it's kind of where I'm at. It's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet, but this morning I'm gonna work on getting a lot of this little stuff buttoned up, some of the wiring, the vent tubes, the starters. My goal is to kind of, once I drop her down, she won't need to go back up in the air for a little while, because I got some of the stuff done up here, as you can see, but I still have all the wiring to do. I still have exhaust manifolds to do, and exhaust is probably the last thing I'm gonna do. I'll probably put the manifolds on and weld a section of pipe on, so that way I can have my brain fart. So that way I can have my O2 sensors. Man. Anyways, but I don't know. We'll see. I gotta figure out. I'm probably gonna do the crossover right here for the exhaust, wrap it up tight. But oh, I gotta do the shifter as well. So, but that's where we're at this morning. That's what I'm gonna be working on, and I will bring you guys along with me. But first, my shop is a mess between my project and my cousin's project, trying to get his Jeep put back together. It is a freaking disaster in here. So this morning, the first 20-30 minutes, I'm gonna clean this up, because I don't know about everybody else, but I just get a little stressed out trying to work in this kind of a mess. So this is about the messiest it's been in a while. So all right, guys, let's get to it. Hey guys, so I did do a fair amount of things without recording. I just kind of needed to get some stuff done. It takes a lot of time to try to record everything, and but the wiring harness, it's good, but I mean, like for instance, this one, the oil pressure plug, it's at the front of the block, but the actual sensor's at the back of the block, so I gotta adapt that. But I'm just trying to figure out where everything goes. But I didn't do tons of stuff. Most of it was just trying to figure stuff out. But I did get some more of the accessory drive on. I have a stock power steering pump for a Jeep. I think that's going to work just fine, because the one I had of the Dakota or the Durango, like, I could still turn this wheel, but it was rubbing it. So but between the stock one and then this bracket is for putting a Dakota box on there, and it's just has more offset, so I can grind that down, and I probably will just go ahead and cut it down a little bit and get that over as far as possible. Because the other problem is too is that the line on the other box came up right here, so hopefully the stock box will work. I did order a Hydro Assist ram, because going back to a regular box, it's not going to want to push these 40-inch tires. So I did a 1.5-inch ram. So I didn't want to do the 2-inch ram, for one, because of slow steering, and second, I don't want to just. I've actually, when I had a 2-inch ram on something before, I actually tore it right off these knuckles. So just ripped my ball joint in half. So, and I went and did an 1.5-inch ram later on an old Jeep I had, and it was good, because it was wasn't so strong that I would have that issue, but it definitely helped. It did everything I needed to, but if I was like super bound up, it wouldn't let me turn it, and I don't need to be able to, basically. So anyways, got the starter on. Most of this is just to mock everything up. So like, I got this manifold on. I didn't have enough header wrap to do the other one, but I should have that on Monday, and then I will get today's Saturday. So then I will get the rest of then I'll get the other manifold wrapped, and I will get the other manifold on. But I'm just trying to figure out linkage right now for shifter, and I'll show you that real quick. As soon as this goes up, okay, not sure how I'm gonna do this exactly yet. I'm trying to show you guys, but so if I have this back here where it actually attaches to the arm like it needs to, it puts this cable right into the manifold really bad. But if I had it to where it's set right here, it's pretty comfortable, and it gets it far away from the manifold. So what I'm thinking about doing is kind of making another link, that an arm that then attaches to this one, and so that way you're actually pivoting here, and there's just an arm that goes from that arm to this arm that actually shifts it. I'll be honest, I don't want to do that, but it's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. I kind of like it too, because it gets everything up high, but it's gonna take a little bit more time to do that. And then having this down the way it was, fear of it getting in the way of the driveline and everything, so this is better anyways. But I will say our tolerances are tight. I think we're gonna be okay, but you can see how close the floor is to that. There is a cup out right there after the yoke, so I think we'll be all right. But and then my drive lines aren't going to work, because I don't know if I mentioned this already or not, but the Rubicon transfer case had a 2-inch pilot, and these Alice transfer cases have a 3.12, if I recall correctly, 3.124, something like that. So they're not going to work. So I got to figure out what I want to do there, and the front drive line is too long. So, but once I get that other manifold in, I just have the wires set in there, but I'll figure out exactly how I wanted to route them, and I'll get everything else routed. But that's kind of all I accomplished today. It was a lot of just playing with things, figuring out where I wanted it, adjustments, and solutions. So I didn't do a lot of video recording today. And then honestly, because of all that, I threw the starter on, I threw the assembly drive on, because it was like, I felt like I needed to accomplish something today. So that way it made me feel a little bit better. Probably gonna go and throw the intake on tomorrow, but we don't have a throttle body yet, so I need that throttle body. So it's just, otherwise, honestly, with the standalone wiring harness and everything, we could probably be at a point tomorrow where I could fire, fuel pump. Nope, can't fire up. But we're getting there. So anyways. Well, I guess there's a bit of change of plans because I cannot find the intake gasket, and I don't know where the heck it got put. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and work on getting the fuel pump changed out, and I can run the line to the fuel filter because I want to go from the intake back, because that's going to be the hardest part to work with essentially. And it's not going to be routed along the frame like it used to be, so I want to have it routed very precisely and everything. So anyways, I will lift her up, and sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I'm kind of looking around to see if I can find those freaking intake gaskets. But anyways, I'm going to lift her up, and I'm going to go ahead and see if see about getting that out and getting that portion of the fuel line done, and then we can go from there. And hopefully by that time, my neighbor has a mechanic business, and he usually has some extra gaskets, so I called him. He didn't answer, but he'll call me back and see if maybe he's got a set. Not, I'll run into town. I just like I said before, don't want to spend all day on the Jeep. I want to spend some time with my family today. So I believe I explained why I'm doing this, but in case I didn't, the Jeep fuel pump does not have enough, have a high enough flow rate for the LS. So all we're gonna do is take this assembly, take this fuel pump off, and throw the fuel pump off of the Chevy on there, the LS, and should be good. Plus my fuel gauge and everything worked before, so. Put a new razor blade on that knife because that was pathetic. All right. Well, like I said, we're gonna clean her up, but she should be good. All right. She's installed back up. That's the Jeep fuel filter. I'm gonna get rid of that, and I'm gonna get an LS fuel filter. But I think it's around the same size. But the biggest thing is I want the on the inlet and the outlet to be threaded, because like I said, I'm gonna be running that braided fuel line all the way, and I just would rather have the threaded fittings. So just keeps everything nice and tight. Don't worry about hose clamps and all that stuff. So I guess for now I could run, I can't run a lot, to be honest, because I want to start from the intake, and I'm still waiting on an intake gasket. So I guess for now we'll just bypass this and move on to other things. So all right, I'll get back to you in a minute when I figure out what I'm gonna do. All right, well, my buddy Corey hooked me up, so shout out to him, appreciate it, man. Yeah, so he went and picked me up a set of manifold gaskets, so let's get this thing put together. So I thought about getting a completely different intake system, something like maybe out of a Camaro, but just cost was part of it. The other part of it is that they say for torque, these factory truck intakes are the better option. Which, not that torque's really going to be an issue for us, but it just kind of seems like the better option for us is to just go with the factory manifold. So that's what I did, factory manifold. Alright guys, there's that. Let's start hooking stuff up. So my temp sensor wire is, you can see it there, that's where the temp sensor is. So it's, I don't know, 6 inches too short. I'm just gonna cut it and splice it and add length. And then I don't have my throttle body quite yet. I had to order one. The one that came with this was electric throttle body, or sorry, yeah, controlled by wire, and I need controlled by cable. So I just didn't want to go through all the work of, for one, it would have been a completely different harness and more expensive, like twice as expensive, and then changing the pedal and everything. But yeah, but now that I got that done, and this goes over to the booster, I got a lot of cleanup of wiring to do. We've touched on that. I will clean it up and route it nicely. It just once I get juice hooked back up to everything, or if I could find a wiring diagram to tell me what runs what, and then I could go from there. Probably at a point, honestly, that like what I cut out already, like I know it was for certain things like the engine, I could probably just eliminate those wires and be done with it and move on. But I want to get rid of as much as is not needed, because I don't want to end up having shorts down the road. So but here's where we're at. I want to start working on the fuel system. So if I could at least get the hoses dropped down there tonight, I'd feel better about it. But that's probably as far as I'm gonna get. I didn't get nearly as far as what I wanted to, but you know, it's okay, it happens. So anyways, let's I'll show you the pieces I got real quick. Where are they at? I had them out already. Here they are. So these hook directly up to the LS fuel rail, supposed to, and then what we'll do is right there for a sec. So one is 5/16, one is 3/8, but they're both 6AN. I'm just gonna run the both lines out of the 6AN stuff. So yeah, so see, they just click right on there, and then I can I should have some 45 ends, and I'll put some 45 ends on the hoses. And then what I have is I have two 20-foot lengths of hose, and then I have what's remaining from an old project, so probably like 5 to 10 feet left of that. But I'm going to take the two 20-foot lengths, which is more than what I need for this, but I'm just going to take the two 20-foot lengths and run the whole thing. I'm not going to cut anything. I'm just going to add the hose to the end, run them up kind of where I want, hook them up, then we'll lift the Jeep back up and start figuring all that out. So that took a while. All right, but I'll show you real quick just what I was talking about. So I bent these inward a little bit. They were lined up with that fuel rail, but now they go right down behind the block against firewall. But that's all a really nice tight fit. These do swivel a little bit, so they're not, you know, they're made that way. But anyways, now we can go underneath and work on getting the fuel lines fairly finalized. Hey guys, so the throttle body had showed up. We could probably be at a point tomorrow where I could fire her. Oh, fuel pump. Nope, can't fire her up. But we're getting there. So anyways, thanks for watching. It's probably going to be the end of this video. And the next video, she should pretty much be fired up and ready to go and hopefully doing burnouts. I'm definitely going to be doing some burnouts when she's ready. So we don't need to break this motor in. She's already broken. So I need to find some scabs that I can throw on there and not destroy my super swampers. But one way or another, she's doing burnouts. So, all right. Thanks for watching, guys.